for joining us for another short talk on activity professionals and how we can be better. Today we're going to talk about volunteers. Now, volunteers are critical to your programming. In order to provide all the person-centered care that we need, we have to do a number of rounds and basically be a concierge to the building as if we were in a hotel and make sure that people get delivered the right magazines, the right games that they want to do, the arts and crafts that they want to do, and have follow back, say, how's that going for you? Did you enjoy that? Can I bring you something else? So it's very important that we hire good volunteers and that we train them well. One of the things that you need to do first is to recruit your volunteers. So you want to make sure that they have the time available to come in and that they will be committed, that for the next 6 months, they will come in at least once a month or once a week or whatever they have decided that they want to do and are capable of putting in their schedule. Because the most important thing that we need to tell them is that if you don't come in and the resident was expecting you to come and read to them or do their nails or come and do that Bible study with them, then they feel abandoned. Our residents will feel abandoned. And so the volunteer must know how critically important they are to our residents' self-esteem. There is nothing more important than having a volunteer come in because the residents realize, hey, these people are coming to be with me and they weren't paid to come in here. They're doing this because they really want to be here. So that is essential that our volunteers understand how important their job really is to the facility and how well our facility will run because of their presence there. So we want to make sure that we get really good volunteers. There have been volunteers that I have recruited from the high schools. Young kids love to come in and they work very well with the older kids. They can do nails, they read to them, they will help with the mail, they'll help write letters. They actually will come in and go on my outings with me and help push people around at the events that we go to, or they'll help come in and serve dinner. Very often some of the high school kids are very talented in music and they'll come in and play their instruments or sing. Lots of times my volunteers will come from groups that are established groups like church groups, or sometimes they'll come from the Rotaries or the Kiwanis, or sometimes they'll come from the garden clubs or the Retired Teachers Association. There are multiple groups, multiple community groups that like to do community work, and having them come in to visit at our facilities and volunteer some of their time is truly a gift that they give to us. Having said that, it's very important to also acknowledge that once or twice a year, we need to have a really nice volunteer luncheon so that they come in, they get to meet all the other volunteers that come in, find out what other jobs people do, get to meet other people. And sometimes they say, hey, I hear that you deliver the ice cream. I would really like to do that. Can I come do that with you sometime? Or I understand that you do the Bible group. I'd like to come to that. Can I help you with that? Or I go on outings and we have a great time. It's one of the few times that I really get out of the building, and I love helping these people go to Multnomah Falls and have a picnic or going to the wine thing and tasting wine. So, you can introduce your volunteers to other volunteers and they will either know somebody who wants to come in and volunteer, or they'll come in and watch what they're doing and they'll say, hey, I want to do that too. So those are the resources. So let's go over that again. You'll get them from the high school. You'll get them from church groups. You'll get them from retired groups, retired teachers. You'll get them from Kiwanis or the other community groups. Once they come in, you need to do an orientation with them. And when you do the orientation, you need to make sure that you go over the policies and procedures in your buildings. Now, most of your buildings will have a pre-made list of the policies and procedures. And so you're going to take them through a fire drill, what to do. You're going to take them what to do during an earthquake drill. You're going to teach them also about the diseases that are in your building that they might be exposed to, and universal precautions for washing hands. You're also going to explain their job completely, what they're going to be doing. They need to know that they need to sign in and sign out when they come in to volunteer, that you're going to keep a record of the time that they come in and the time that they leave. That's for legal things that we need to do to make them safe in the building. And we also have to make sure that they know what kind of care we're giving here and where they can help and where they cannot help. For example, they certainly should not be able to feed residents, but they can deliver a tray. They need to know that if a resident has precautions about swallowing, that they cannot give them thin liquids, or they have to give them putting thick liquids so that they don't have swallowing problems. You need to go through all that so that they know when they are doing their volunteer work that they won't be doing something wrong. The other thing that you need to do is go over what should they do if they see a resident fall, that they should go get help, that they should not try to pick that resident up, that we first have to have the nurse come and do a body check before we can move the resident. And so they need to know very clearly what your policies and procedures are, whether it's for the fire, the earthquake, passing out food. They need to know what the policy and procedures are. And that's why they really need to go through the orientation. Another thing that we need to express in the orientation is how are they to dress when they come. Because we're in a nursing home and because we have people in wheelchairs, and if they come into our building with sandals or open-toed shoes and that wheelchair rolls over their foot, they're going to have broken bones in that foot. So we need to make sure that they have closed-toed shoes on or heavy shoes on so their feet don't get hurt in case an accident of a wheelchair running over their foot happens. The other thing, we need to make sure that they're dressed appropriately, that they're covered up, if they're girls, covered up high enough over the chest, and if they're guys, that their pants are up tight enough that they aren't showing cracks either on the top or the bottom of their bodies. And we want to discourage any tank tops, and so that they're adequately covered. And some buildings will have a policy about tattoos, that they want tattoos to be covered up. If you have younger people coming in, you may have a policy about not having too many piercings on their face, because sometimes that can be frightening to our adults, to our seniors. So we want to make sure that they're dressed appropriately to do the job, and they'll be well accepted by our residents. The other thing that we want to make sure is that they know what their job is to do when they come in. If they're going to come in and deliver the ice cream, we'll have it ready for them, we'll have it on the cart, we'll have them go around with us a couple times so that they know where the precaution signs are in the building, in the rooms, so that they don't give somebody ice cream, which is a thin liquid and can melt in their mouth. And if they cannot have thin liquids, that can cause them to choke. We also want to make sure that they know if they're passing out food that people should be sitting up at a 45-degree angle in bed so that they don't choke. Now, you're going to have people come in and do all kinds of things. Sometimes they're going to be singing, sometimes they'll be helping with the cooking group, sometimes they'll come in and they'll help with the arts and crafts. When they're doing those groups, for the most part, you're going to be in the room there leading the group, and they're going to supplement the help and help somebody get their paints out or work on their paints. So there are a variety of jobs that people can do. And most of the time, they're going to really enjoy them. However, once in a while, if you have a volunteer that is not working, you need to ask them to go to a different job. Or say, hey, this isn't quite working out well for you. I'm sensing that you're being a little bit uncomfortable being around the residents. Let's have more time with you being with me, and I'll show you how to work with the different residents that have maybe a few issues or call out a little bit. I'll show you how to redirect them, but I'll stay close in case you have a problem. So that's important to give them that knowledge of what dementia is, what calling out is, when it's acceptable, when can we redirect it, when should that resident be removed from the group, or if our volunteer cannot adjust to the responsibilities of working with the residents, maybe we need to give them another job. And when they come in, maybe we'll have them stuff the newsletters or go around and interview people and write the newsletters. So we try to make everybody work out, but make sure that everybody is working out and that we don't have people that feel uncomfortable. You need to know that the residents have rights, and so do your volunteers. And if a resident doesn't feel comfortable working with a person, they shouldn't have to do that. We should change the schedule or change the activity. or the time so that they don't have an interaction. There are also times when the residents will say, I don't want to work with that person. And we have to honor that and not have them work with that person. So we want to be clear on those things. The other thing that we want to be clear on is when the residents are interacting with our volunteers, make sure that the volunteer knows what the assignment is, that they have all the equipment that they need to run a group, and that you're close by to help if needed. And we want to make sure that they feel comfortable running the group. And we want to give them time to say, hey, I ran that group, it ran great last week, but this week it went a little haywire and this happened. Give them enough follow-up so that they can correct the problem and feel successful in what they do. Remember, the volunteer came in because they wanted to help. They came in because they had a talent or a need that they wanted to share. So let's find out where their best talents are, what they enjoy doing the best, what they can do the best to help our residents enjoy their groups. Your volunteers will be a wonderful resource for you, and they will give you time to sit in the back of the room sometimes and get some extra paperwork done while they run a group. I have had wonderful volunteers that have come in and run church groups. They've come in and passed ice cream 3 times a week. They've helped call bingo numbers in the bingo games. They've done manicures. They've delivered mail. They've read to people. They have become friends with my residents. And that's really important for both our volunteer and our residents. So if you set up the program right, you give them enough education on what they're supposed to do and not do, you give them enough time to learn the job, and you make sure that you do a good volunteer appreciation luncheon. Pass out certificates and tell people who does what and how many hours they've come in. Your volunteers will get to know each other, they'll get to know your residents, and you'll have a very good program because of their help. I hope that this little talk has been helpful for you. Please make sure that you can always go to Oregon Activity Professionals, Oregon Dementia Professionals. Go to our website, www.oap-odp.com, and see more information on the field. You can also go to our YouTube page, which is Portland Community College conniekratti activities, and there'll be listings of all the different activities that we've taped a little bit, just to give you a little bit of help on how to be the best activity director you can be. Thank you for joining us this afternoon, and we'll see you in our next talk. Thank you.